Oh my, this is gonna be a really hard cast today, guys. These names, Zutoka, Von Jeje, Von Hehe. Oh boy, this is gonna be an interesting cast today, guys. So if I don't do a great job casting because of the names, I do apologize. I might just like focus on the unit types and whatnot because some of these names are just too hard to pronounce. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of these guys. We're gonna start adding them to our list so we can take a look. So we got Dark Pituk. I forgot the R. Let's take a look at this guy. Boom, added. So he's a Russian player with a 79% win rate. Guys, remember, take into account, these guys play on CIS, so they have very few battles. That's the only reason they'll have such low battles counts. They play on CIS, but they've been getting prepared for the tournament. Or league, should I say. So let's take a look here, what we can expect from him. Tiers, there we go. So he's got a few units at tier 8 already. So he's got the Insubris Swordsman, he's got the Socii Extraordinarii, the Veteran Velites. So we can pretty much count on him playing at least one of these three types, without a doubt. He's either going to be their Jav player, Hannibal Swords player, or the medium Germanicus Infantry. I'm going to lean more towards these two. We don't really see too much Germanicus lately. Maybe mediums would be something that we would see. A much better chance than the heavies, like yesterday's game. Heavies are just too slow, not enough maneuver room. Yes, they're tanky, but if they get caught by themselves, they can quickly be, collapsed upon and punished, as we saw yesterday with PSB taking advantage and taking out their heavy infantry very quickly. So I'm going to take a stab and guess he's going to be their Hannibal Swords or the Veteran Velites, without a doubt. All right, let's take a look. Next person down the line. Let's go. We'll go back and forth. So in case I don't have enough time, Kubiak with the French Kubiak. This is going to be such a hard cast today. 3,000 battles, 59% win rate, pretty respectable. Getting there into those win rates where it's like a player that's going to be really, top tier. We have Miltiades at 1,100 battles versus Getter 500, Boudica 300. So we're talking more than likely he's going to be one of these four commanders. Let's take a look at units that he has available. Of course, he's got plenty of 9s. Only one tier 10, so let's take a look at the 8s. He's got Cleavers. That could be a possibility with Boudica. Night Hunters. I don't see Barb Archers being used in this tournament. Or league, I'm sorry. Pikes. Niflheim Riders. So we could probably count on him filling quite a few different roles. I wouldn't see him playing Slingers, though, since he's got so few battles. So I imagine he's going to be a player that either brings along, on the French side, Veteran Velites. I don't see War Dogs being added in. Sacred Band, he could play Sacred Band. The Niflheim Riders, or Cleavers, or even Pikemen, or Night Hunters. So we can make a good bet that he's going to play one of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So one of these 6 roles. Be pretty interesting, because some of those are a little weaker than others. I'm going to guess he'd probably be the Caesar player. Let's see, next person on the roster. Who have we got next? Just going to add everybody, because it's always great to add these people. Nemte. Alright. We've got Nemte. Let's see, search. I'm going to have to do these pre-game shows a little bit earlier, because you know what? I'm finding that I don't have enough time to do them. So we've got, again, 339 battles. Remember, these are the Russians. They came over specifically for the tournament. So I'm still looking at 214 battles with Miltiades and 98 with Leonidas. I'm going to take a wild guess. He's going to be their Milty player without a doubt. Yeah, it's definitely going to be the Milty player. So the Russians are going to have a big handicap because they came over from CIS and they don't have a huge amount of variety. However, despite their lack of variety, they are phenomenal players. Don't let that mess it up. These players are some of the top tier players without a doubt. So he's more than likely going to be that Miltiades player. That's definitely my money's on that. All right, let's see. Fugers. Oh man, these names are so gonna be so difficult. So difficult. All right, let's take this overview. 3,300 battles, 62% win rate, very respectable win rate indeed. It's Caesar, Sulla, Kanane, Germanicus, Arminius. So this guy's pretty flexible on what commander he could play. I could see him playing any of these top 5 commanders, more than likely one of these 4, just simply because he has a lot more battles on them. So he's a pretty well-rounded individual. He can be a flex picker. Let's take a look at units. Yeah, he's got pretty much everything unlocked. So going by his commanders, we could probably expect him to be like maybe two jabs, 1 infantry, or triple jabs. He could be infantry or cavalry with Sulla. So that's, as we learned yesterday, a very viable and good pick. Sulla cavalry is usable in this 7v7 environment. He could be Kanane player with more than likely slingers or archers. So well-rounded individual, or Germanicus medium infantry, and maybe possibly Arminius. I would take a stab though. They're going to stick with his 4 main, played commanders. Next on the roster, Mr. Druid. We have Mr. Druid. Now I'm familiar with this guy. I'm taking a stab at Elephants or Carthage Cav, because he's a phenomenal Carthage Cav player from what I've seen, and Elephants. So let's see. Oh, Hasdrubal, 153 battles, and Miltiades with 182. Okay, so let's take a look at his units. Carthage Spears. Okay, not the Carthage Cav I was expecting, but nonetheless, Carthage Spears, as we saw yesterday, very strong unit. That debuff and buffing potential of Carthage Spears is insanely good, makes them a very, very good, strong front line. So definitely a good pick. Or Helat Slingers. So we're going to take a look. Kanane did a little bit of battles, but I don't know his Russian account. So he's got at least a little more variety. He's got the T8s. He's got the T8 Carthage Spears, the T8 Slingers. He's good to go on either or of those unit types. So they're getting a little variety. That's good. That's crazy that the Russians in such a short amount of time are able to get at least a couple different choices. Next up on the list we have Sorfur. Let's see, Sorfur in matchmaking. Now I've played with Sorfur. I played against him. He's a very good, well-rounded player. 58%, above average without a doubt. I believe that he's going to be raising his win rate. I've seen him play, and he knows what to do. He knows to protect his range. He knows when to, push with his infantry. He's probably, I'm guessing, Sorfur, if you're in the chat, you started Arena during the open beta, and you learned, but you've learned fast. So we can definitely expect his win rate to go up with the amount of gameplay I've seen him perform in, and a respectable 208 average kills per battle, which is decent, definitely. Let's see commanders. So we have Miltiades and Germanicus, respectively, as his top commanders in terms of battles fought. Win rate rise. So I'm going to take a stab at, let's say, so he's got a variety. He could play Miltiades, Scipio, Alexander, or Germanicus. I don't see Alexander being played, so Leonidas I don't really see. So I think he's going to be a Scipio, Miltiades, or Germanicus player more than likely. Let's take a look at his units unlocked. We have Socii Extraordinarii. Okay, so he can fill that role. He can fill Sacred Band role. He can fill... Okay, so Sacred Band or Socii or Pikemen. So we could see Leo, Germanicus, or Miltiades on Sorfur's part. Gonna be interesting. So in this net, it's looking like both teams are not completely flexible compared to, say, PSB or Iberian Wolves, where they have a lot of flexibility. A lot of the players, they have the advantage of being able to play multiple units and unit types just because they've grinded them out. So this is going to be a little bit of a different approach on today's matches, just because it might not just be counter picks. It might just be they're going to use what they have, the best of the best units available to each team. So we've looked at Sorfure. Let's see next. We have Capitella. I've run into Capitella. Good player, makes few mistakes. So let's see how he's got his account running right now. Again, low battles, don't look at that. So Sulla, 357. I'm going to say he's going to be a Sulla Cavalry or Sulla Infantry player. Yep, here we go. He's definitely going to be filling that role as Sulla Cavalry. So as we saw yesterday, Sulla Cavalry is immensely important. Druid plays Karth Spears much more than Cav. Okay, so I've just seen him a lot in the higher tiers playing the Carthage Cav in Vitica. That's why I guessed he would be playing Cav. But I understand the pick also for the Spears because of their importance. They're very, very strong. Let's see. So definitely we're gonna see Capitella on those Sulla Cavalry, and as we saw yesterday, they're immensely important and good. And you see that. Look at the games he's played just simply on his tier 8s. Half of his gameplay is just on these. So they have been practicing and practicing and practicing. These Russians are going to be prepared. They are definitely going to be prepared today. You can bet your money on that. Let's see. Lord Commandant. Oh man, today's commentary. I do apologize, guys. I am American. It's going to be immensely hard to pronounce a lot of these names. Russian and French alike. Alright, so we have Lord Commandant, 2,800 battles, 60% win rate, a respectable win rate. Let's take a look at his battles played on per commander. 794 for Caesar, 517 for Germanicus, 493, and the list goes on. So he can quite respectively fill any one of these 5 roles, I'm sure. More than likely, with that kind of gameplay, you could probably see him as their Julius Caesar, 1 infantry double jav or triple jav, just because the amount of battles is just he if they need javelins, he'll probably be their pick. But it looks like he could play pretty much very flexibly here. Let's see, we don't have much more time. Hopefully we can get this going. Let me see if I can... let's see, TTEJ IB something. Oh, that's not right. Oh, there it is. Russian guy, another one. I don't know how to say this at all. 239 battles, Carthage. So, Carthage, Hannibal. Elephants. Without a doubt, either elephants or T8 Hannibal swords. So, we have T8 Hannibal swords and T8 elephants, both available as picks. Definitely. He's got at least 2 picks for him. As you can see, Carthage is definitely a strong faction in this competitive environment. It's definitely going to be his picks. And again, remember, these Russians, the only reason they have low gains is they come over from CIS, so they're going to they are playing fresh accounts, so they had to grind them out, and they haven't had much time. So their build comp is very very limited. Let's take a look here. 1 second. Alright, looks like the rolling process is going to begin. Sorry guys, we couldn't get everybody. I will start the pregame shows a little earlier now that I know it's just too long. The rolling is taking place right now, so we don't want to miss this. And let's get that... Where's Discord? All right, Dark Pituk with the roll of 15. Let's see here. And Fograys with the roll of 19. So Dark Pituk is the Russian captain, and Fograys is the French captain. All right, let's see. LFR pick side or who picks first? First map is going to be Rubicon today, boys. It's going to be interesting based on what we saw on some of these players. The Russians should have a very quick pickings. They pretty much are limited on the choices of commanders and units they can bring, but regardless of that, still very strong commanders, very strong units. And can mostly counter most of it, most unit picks in the game. All right, so the French are gonna have the Russians pick first. Now, if the French team captain had done his research, if he had done his research and known that the Russians were coming around, he would not do this. I think what he would do is pick his side first, because he would already know what these Russians are going to be having for their picks. So a little bit, you know, if you do a little bit of research, you would know exactly what you're going to be up against. So I would have gone more for picking the side of the map. All right, 45 seconds. Let's see what they pick. All right, 3 Solid Cavalry, safe pick, as we anticipated. That's their first pick. He's got Capitello will definitely play in that Solid Cavalry. He's got lots of play time, so it's a guaranteed, hey, we're going to just pick our one guy that definitely only has one choice. You know, it's an easy choice. Fograys is no. Fograys, you have to wait, man. He has to wait until the timer starts. Oh boy. I think it's just a lack of possibly a lack of communication. You know, this is an EU league, meaning there's lots of people from different countries, and if they don't speak much English, it's going to be very difficult. Why have you stopped playing World of Warcraft? Sexy Jesus, we're not going to be talking about World of Warcraft today. Today is a game day for a league. I will talk to you maybe a little bit later if you want to talk to me on Discord about that. All right, 2 minutes. French team has 2 minutes, picks 3. Obviously, we know the Miltiades spears. Okay, he's typing up their next choice. Okay, so there's a lack of communication here. Progress is not exactly sure what's going on here. So Leonidas, 3 hoplites, 3 Germanic infantry, Caesar triple jabs. I think that's just a lack of communication, Bear. There might be a there. I'm definitely feeling there's a disconnect there. I can't join that channel, by the way. All right. 2 minutes for the Russians to get their next picks. This is where, even though they're limited on variety of units that they can in choice, they do have a couple players that do have more than one choice. So this is where the Russians can take a little bit more time. They see that there's Leonidas Spears. That shouldn't be too difficult to deal with if they take their Carthage Spears. So that's easily negatable. They do have to worry about those javelins, in which Sulla Cav will their main job will be probably trying to take out those javelins. The Germanicus infantry. So a smart pick here would probably be at least a Caesar player, Caesar and Jazz, which the Russians do have that available to them based on what we saw. I could say at least maybe Carthage Spears and Caesar Jazz would be a smart pick here based on what they have in their roster. But let's see. They're taking their time. They're probably discussing on who should go in the picks yet. Do we pick our most variety capable players, or do we pick more? Okay, so here we go. 3 medium Germanicus swords. That's good pick. 3 LA Hannibals. Okay, that's another good pick. Regardless of the situation. 1 spear, 2 slinger, Milty. Okay. So they're not going to pick the Caesar spears. Instead, they'll take the slingers, which will put that pressure on the French javelins. And basically, if those javelins can't get close enough, then the slingers will be able to take them out from a distance, as well as keep them off of the main battle lines. That's going to be actually really strong there. Not what I anticipated, but I imagine that these are the players that basically have less variety capabilities, and they're saving their variety picks for last, which is a smart choice on the Russian side. French team, they got 2 minutes to pick their 3 players. Amon's forgot to start the lobby to speed this up a little bit. Germanicus, 3 infantry, heavy. See, I'm not sure that's a good choice. 3 Germanicus heavy infantry are too slow a force to really bother in this kind of situation, especially in a 7v7. Sure, they're a good, strong front line, but they're too slow to react to many situations other than pushing forward. So I'm not sure that's a great choice on the French side. Sulla, 2 jabs, 1 infantry, medium, and Miltiades, 3 hoplites. So they're going to have some good protection, but those slingers, man, they're bringing 5 Jav units. If those Javs get eliminated just by the 2 slingers, then this game will be heavily in favor of the Russians. So I'm not too sure about the picks on the extra Javs at this point. This is going to be a very tight knit battle. I do understand the pick for Solo though, bringing around that prescription, the D buffs, as we saw yesterday, having buffs, Boudica Rebellion, Caesar buffs, Hasdrubal, Deep Pockets and Bribe works immensely well. You don't need a super strong front line if you have all of these buffing capabilities. You can have a more lighter front line that ends up being just as tanky as a heavy Germanicus infantry player, just because simply you have so many buffs, making your units much more defensive, much more melee attack, and basically with your debuffs, you're eliminating the enemy player's ability to actually deal the damage necessary to break through that front line. All right, make your move, 3 infantry, Hannibal. That's a smart pick. Obviously, he's going to be that flanking force, looking for the good opportunist for flanking or routing or even getting onto those javelins at some point if they were pushed far back enough. We've got 3 Spear Leonidas, another strong defensive force, so that's probably going to be their main line. That Leonidas pick is going to be their main line holding it down. And then their final pick, I'm guessing, might be those Carthage Spears in the back line. Either Carthage Spears will be the front line or Leo. We're not too sure yet here, based on these picks. And if you out there in the stream, make sure definitely there's a poll going on. Let's see it. Y'all need to. Oh damn, that's not it. That was such a failure. Here you go, boys. Make sure you go ahead and vote. The poll is for who do you think is going to take the win today. Go ahead, cast your vote. We want to see who you all think is going to take today's victory. One Spear Archer Kanane. Okay. So they've got, the Russians have, this is interesting. They got archers and slingers. The enemy team's javelins could very easily be laid completely useless this entire match. So they're going pretty heavy on that range comp, but so the slingers are going to apply pressure on the javelins either to keep them back. If the javelins keep pushing forward, then the archers are going to be laying that barrage right down on them. So most definitely, all of the Russians' ranged players are going to be focusing down those jazz as soon as possible. But with the French, they bring a triple Kanane slinger, so we're going to see a slinger fight. And with the triple slingers, you can bet that if the French play properly, they will eliminate the double slingers on the Russian team. Alrighty. Ladies and gentlemen, you have their picks for today. Can we get some hype in this chat? We need to get the chat hyped up and ready to go. It's game time, baby. Everybody get up. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, Rubicon is the map of choice today. We have Lord Commandant with Slingers, Sigurd Lepork with Germanicus Infantry, I'm Freezy with Sulla Infantry double jabs. We have Sorfear with the Leonidas Spears, Espada with Germanicus Infantry, Kubiak with Miltiades Spears, Folkers with the triple Julius Caesar Jazz, Mr. Druid on the other team. We will be able to see them as they get shown on the field. Let's get ready for some game time, baby. Lord Commandant picking the middle pick with his slingers all the way up in the mid. Really interesting choice considering the fact that the enemy team has slingers. However, he does have the dominating numbers, so I understand that pick highly.
Enemy base or kill all enemy forces.
All right, we have one of the Russian players running the tier 8 Hannibal Elephants. He's going to be over here getting some scouting information, see what's going on. We got Nemte in the front line with the Leonidas Spears. Now, he's going to have the front line just simply. That's a very strong front line to have. We've got a little slinger action over here. Mr. Druid laying down a little damage on Espada's infantry. Good choice. Get a little bit of damage off. Get that lead if you can. We have over to the left over here Dark Pitu with the Hannibal Swords already starting that maneuver for the flanking, and Capitello with his infantry. Now what they're going to do is they're probably going to apply pressure. If they can push the French team into their base, they're going to surround them and have easy access with their range and basically limit the usage of the enemy's slingers. Look at this elephant player pressing the advantage, pressing these jabs. The ranged players need to split off. They need to split off in order to take advantage and start dealing damage to these elephants. Otherwise, he's just going to run in there and just lay havoc. Meanwhile, limiting the use of the French team's range right now. Their slingers, their javelins are now starting to do damage to the elephants. We have over here Capitella engaged with I'm Freezy. Phobos comes in. They're going for the surround. They're going to surround I'm Freezy and Kubiak. They might even rout this force. They're using that Sulla Cav to their advantage with the prescription. And here comes Eclipse with his archers. He's going to be able to probably go ahead and take out these javelins, at which point they've actually already been engaged by infantry. This is pure chaos. That rush, the Russians have purely put all of the pressure. If you look at this, the pressure is all over their range. The elephant's still quite healthy. Their javelins are being laid useless. This is the power of having a very strong push build. You have your Sulla Cavalry putting pressure. You have the Hannibal Swords. You have the elephants. There's just so much pressure on any ranged player or any ranged team. Mr. Druid taking some damage, but not anything to be worried about. Espada way out of range, like not even useful. He was too far extended. His entire team has been collapsed upon and surrounded, and this is pretty much already the game for the Russians. Now, despite the Russians' limited variety, they're running a very strong comp. It easily can counter a lot of different comps, and that pressure on the range between the Hannibal Swords, the Hannibal Elephants, is just going to eliminate all that range firepower that the French team had. Now, as an elephant player, if you'll pay attention, he just rushed those javelins, and that is a good choice because you can take frontal hits from the javelins very quick for quite some time. If you're putting all that pressure on the range, then there's nothing that your ranger actually be doing. Meanwhile, the Russians' range having free reign to do whatever they please. And I'm going to say that was just a completely utter chaos and quick demolishing of the French team. Yeah, the Russians played that perfectly. If you'll notice, the Russians, as soon as they could, they rushed across, they surrounded, pushed the French team back into their base where the range were basically trapped and cornered and not as effective. Meanwhile, the Russians had all the opportunity, spreading their range out in a big line. They had all the time to fire whatever they pleased. They basically just did an entire maneuver of a surround. And that was a very fast match of the day. Alrighty. First match, Russians. Alrighty, let's get ready for game 2, boys and girls. That was a very quick match. Just shows the power of having that. Like if so, as you guys all saw there, the Russians, they set in for a pure rush build. This is the power of vodka. If you are able to apply that much pressure on range, and you'll notice the French, they had one of their guys way too far. Like you know the power of what the Russian team brings. It's purely a rush build. They apply all that pressure that your range are almost ineffective. And if they're applying, you have to apply that same amount of power or better in order to, counteract it. If the French team doesn't match rush with rush, then it's going to be a very quick battle in the rusher's favor. Give me one moment. Guys, you can see the rolls. I've got to take a quick leak. All right, sorry about that. So, going back to that battle, what a lot of players I've noticed and that are newer to the game, you have to realize no matter what, in this game you're going to take damage. There's never going to be a perfect game where you take absolutely no damage. If you're afraid or indecisive, notice how the Russians just purely push. They push, they're taking their damage, but then with that push, they apply so much pressure that the other team does not have time to think or respond in accordance to the pressure. If you are indecisive as a player in this game, you will not perform as well as if you're just like, you know what, we've got to go through with it and push through to whatever advantage we have. Indecisiveness is the killer in this game. If you take too long to act on a weakness, then you will not perform as well if you just reacted to the weakness. All right, we have second game is Passage of Augustus. All right, French team's going to take blue team. We're going to get in those lobbies. All right, we are in the lobby. Now let's take a look at the picks. All right, Dark P-Took is gonna have oh, smart choice, smart choice. Dark P-Took, even though they have very limited variety choice in the teams, Dark P-Took is smart. Let the enemy team pick first because the little bit of variety they do have, now they have the advantage of knowing the picks, which is gonna allow them to use their limited variety in countering the French team. All right, we have safe pick from Fogris, 3 Hoplites, Miltiades. That's usually a safe bet. Miltiades is a decent pick in most comp scenes, but I'm hoping that the French team realizes they need something that is going to stop that Russian offense, whether it be Pikes as a final pick or something that is going to just literally stop those Ellies in their tracks. They're going to need at least either the Pikes or they're going to need other Ellies to counter the Ellies. And if they have a good enough Ellie player, they can, have a nice Ellie battle that could limit that Russian push potential. Alrighty here. Let's see what happens, boys. Make Your Move has 2 minutes to pick their combination. We're going to see 3 picks here. And going off of Make Your Move's rush, because the enemy team literally only had javelins as a counter, they could push all they wanted on top of the ranged. That is the power of Ellies. You either need to counter Ellies with Ellies or counter Ellies with pikes or something. So the bringing slingers, for example, if you bring Kanane slingers, you need to at least bring 1 pike. So that's a limiting factor on rushing your range. And if that pike is nearby your range, then now your Ellies are at least drawn away from the range killing power of your team. All right, we have Cavalry, Sulla, of course, smart pick, Hannibal, Ellies, Hannibal, Germanicus swords. Those are probably their limited choices, so that they're smart, getting their 1 to 2 man variety picks out of the way, and then now they'll have the chance to basically analyze, is the French team going to have a better counter this time? All right, let's go, French team. And I do apologize, guys. The names in this are very difficult to pronounce, so I'm probably just going to focus on units, unless I can pronounce the name, because this match went in like 3 minutes. So we're gonna just focus on the actual units more than likely for most of the names. Let's see. Leonidas, 1 hoplite, 2 pikes. Germanicus, 3 infantry, mediums. 3 again with that 3 heavy infantry. Not a smart choice. Not a smart choice in my honest opinion. And bringing Leonidas 2 pikes is very slow. So they're gonna have to find a gap. What map are we on? Alpes Garaya. So they're gonna have to use a gap or something to hold and keep those elephants back. If they can't find a good, strong defensive spot to keep those elephants back, and then maybe use their range to their advantage, it's going to be game over. So I'm thinking they're going to try and be a very defensive force that's not pushable this time. All right, make your move with the next three choices. Let's find out here, boys. There's the lineup thus far, so far. All right, so here we go with the 3 Pike Leonidas. So I'm betting right here. They're going with the 3 Pike Leonidas so that they're gonna try and put pressure on that Pike player with their pikes, basically negating the French team's pikes as it is. 3 Caesar jabs is gonna be interesting. There's probably gonna include the pressure on top of the enemy Leo pikes. So we're definitely going to see some Vici. We're going to see some Vici going on. Okay, 3 Cavalry Arminius as their 3rd pick. So they're going to have that's a very strong comp. They have something to counter the enemy pikes between the Jazz and their pikes, and tie them up so that, again, the elephants can apply all the pressure that they want on ranged units and herd them as far away as possible. And the 3 Arminius cap pick is going to be that quick force that once they've herded the range away from the melee, boom! Arminius is going to come in there and just go in there, do his stuff, and take out the ranged. Very smart picks right there on the Russian side. I'm pretty sure they mean medium heart minor, considering they're French. It's probably a language barrier. LBR 3 players 2 minutes. Let's see how they're gonna counter this. They're gonna need something really strong. Again, the Russians are doing another mixture of rush that's countering all of their picks. 3 Caesar jabs. Okay, so they're going to be, those jabs need to stay by the pikes on both sides. Two Sulla jabs, 1 infantry light. Well, medium, sorry. Kinane triple slinger, of course. So at this point, the triple slinger pick, more than likely we're going to see slingers again on the Russian team as a counter to their slingers in order to apply pressure where they can. Or we could see archers for all we know. If they're stuck in one of the choke points and not an open field, those slingers are almost useless as they can only aim in a couple areas. Whereas archers have that arc where they can shoot wherever the hell they want. Oh boy. I don't think that the French are going to be prepared for this with their current setup. They need something else that's going. They need elephants, honestly. They needed elephants at least to apply likewise pressure on ranged. If you don't apply pressure, at the same time, the people on the aggression, the team with the aggressive strats will more than likely do better. If you're too defensive in this situation, you might just be pushed away from your cap point. You might just be pushed, off the map, and in which case there's more room for mistakes than if you're doing a controlled attack. And there it is, Miltiades triple slingers. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. There's the picks. Let's get it going for the next match. And could be the final one of the day. Alrighty, here we go, boys. Match 2 of today's games. We have Russians again with same player playing Elephants, Capitella on the Sulla Cavalry, Phobos CIS with the Germanicus Infantry, Puserix with the Arminius Cavalry, Nemte with the Leo Pikes, Mr. Druid again with the Slingers as predicted, and Dark Pituk with the Caesar Javelins. Who's ready for game number 2? This is going to be an interesting match. Now, this is the chances of defense here is the French team has to use these chokes to their advantage, but if they use those chokes again, the enemy team has the advantage of their slingers having better range and chance of firing capability from outside the base. If the French hole up in their base, then the Russian team will be able to easily spot the enemy range, and it's just easy capabilities for their slingers to apply as much pressure as possible. It's going to be an interesting match. Or if we have a field battle, it looks like the Russians are going heavily on the right side, and they'll have Capitella for the spotting, making sure that there's nothing over here, just to easily figure out if they have to rush towards their base or not.
Base or kill all enemy forces.
Alright, we got Capitella. He's going for that flag. He's got to get that flag in vision, find out what's going on with the team. We have Russian Elephants. He's got one set towards the base, two heading over here, maybe as a quick response. We've got Mr. Druid and Dark P took a strong force pushing on this left tower. They're going to take control of that tower as soon as possible, maybe find out if there is enemies or not. Capitella's got the flag, nothing on the right side, so if he's smart, he'll keep that one unit there just momentarily, find out if anything pops up, and he'll make his way to get to the team. And basically, we got some pings going on, so the team's probably getting ready to put these Leo Pikes in the chokeholds, make sure that there's nothing getting inside their base. Mr. Druid pushing in on their base from this side, so I'm guessing the French team has got to be over here on this flank. They have to be over here, and there they go, putting Surfier with the Leo Pikes to cut off their base as well. So again, here's the advantage. If the Russians keep all of this vision and range, Mr. Druid has all the chances to do as much damage as possible, while the French sit in their base and are basically sitting ducks. And there's a nice little volley from Mr. Druid, a little bit of damage on Sorfier, making him pop his Fight in the Shade so that he can reduce all damage from range to nil. Lord Commandant over here, I'm not too sure if he's got protection. I'm not sure if the Russians saw that, but there's some easy targets. They're smart. They're keeping their slingers outside the base. They need to do that in order to basically counter the Russian team's slingers. And if you'll take a look over here, the Russians making sure they have a good defense ready in case the French decide to push. And it looks like we've got a front pushing force going with the French. They're going to go down the tunnel. They're going to go down. They're going to be safe from the slinger fire. So the French team is actually on the offensive this time. Meanwhile, the Ellies are going to go out here, probably put pressure on those slingers. And meanwhile, there's a very limited force over here. If the French are smart, they can use their Caesar, deactivate these Pikes capabilities, and then maybe push straight into their base. And there you go. There's a nice javelin fire from Fogres. Very, very nice. Very nice. And then Sorfier's got his Pikes down. He's got Nemte in combat. He's got him in combat. He cannot lay down his Pikes. That's going to be one Pike out of the game. And Capitella is taking massive damage over here. Meanwhile, the Russians are trying to push through, and they're not quite pushing through yet, except actually they're using their Caesar to negate Sorfier's Pikes. So Sigurd's going to try and reduce this as much as possible. Meanwhile, Mr. Druid's got easy access to Lord Commandant with the slingers. This is over for the slinger battle. Mr. Druid, excellent play, getting into position. He's basically negated Lord Commandant's firepower. It looks to me like the French team is kind of being hesitant. They were doing so well on this aggressive push, but they're falling back to their base. If they were smarter, I would have definitely kept pushing on this winning battle and just have your teammates try and hold out over here while you could get a quick cap. The Lord Commandant pretty much out of the game now. They still have 5 javelins on the French team that can do massive amounts of damage, and they're using this hillside as good protection to limit Mr. Druid's killing potential, but he's still getting some good shots off. They're going to have to put pressure on those slingers, or else this could be another game over. But with caution, they have Puserix and Capitella, as well as an Elephant out here, so they're going to be applying pressure right back to those javelins, without a doubt. They've got to be very careful with this. And Mr. Druid, of course, laying down that suppressing fire, making these jabs just dodge and not useful in any way right now. Looks like this fight has gone in the French favor. They have won this offense, and now we're going to see another offense from the Russians coming in as a counterattack down the chokehold. Now that this javelins are away and not able to counter Dark Pituk, he can take one javelin, negate Sorfier, and then just easily start pushing in as another offense. Meanwhile, over here we have the engagement has begun. The elephants are already applying pressure. Mr. Druid shooting the javelins. Puserix and Capitella trying to find an opening, and then Puserix gonna get in there and keep those javelins busy so they cannot do anything to this elephant. This engagement is not going in the favor of the French. Capitella coming around, he'll probably give them prescription so they do less damage. Excellent plays. Mr. Druid again laying down suppression fire down in the middle, and Sorfier is being pushed back. He's done. That pike is gone. Sigurd trying to take that javelin out of the commission. He needs to take this javelin out, and then now these pikes need to go. Fogris needs to take out these pikes. A very even battle, and it's amazingly even this time from both teams. However, this is just the problem right here. Mr. Druid has the upper hand in being in this position right here. This is where some pressure needed to be applied from the French, with Mr. Druid just easily laying down fire all over, uncontested. Having that uncontested ground is just slowly whittling down the French. And meanwhile, this little engagement, Puserix was able to get out. Dark Pituk still has some javelins. They've completely eliminated Freezy at this point. So now Freezy is pretty much out of the battle, and Kubiak is going to try and start pressuring Mr. Druid. Espada moving over here in the choke as a backup to Sorfier, and the French team moving their javelins forward. Not a smart move in my opinion, because those slingers, if they can't apply pressure on the slingers, then the javelins are just easy pickings. They need to apply a counter pressure on this choke in order to turn the tides in any way, while they can't press any other advantages on the Russian side. This is the advantage that the French need to take advantage of, and they're just not taking advantage of that choke. And lesser units. And Kubiak taking some damage. He's still trying to get those jabs, but with the slingers, he's just not gonna do it. He's not gonna make it. Meanwhile, these jabs again, like they're right now, this is the French team is not taking advantage where they can, not utilizing their range. If you're not utilizing your range, then you're basically not able to. If you're not utilizing your range, there's no damage being output, and right here is where there could be damage being output. Use your range, take out these pikes, get rid of the pike problem. You had a little bit of pike protection, however now you don't, in which case it would have scared the elephant away at least. So now the javelins actually getting into the mix. They're going to try and cut off Mr. Druid. If they get close enough, Mr. Druid could see some massive damage. French team putting that pressure, as they should have been a long time ago, on Mr. Druid, but he's just drawing them away. He's got more movement speed. He's playing Miltiades. He's got the break ranks, so they're not going to catch him with this kind of comp, in which case he can just slowly kite them away. As he kites the team away, the Russians will begin their advance down the choke again with their elephant and small pike force and another elephant, which case they can quickly mop up this infantry force. And Puserix in here with the charge on Fogris for the javelins, taking some nice damage. Mr. Puserix taking minimal losses for his trade. Excellent attack right there. Puserix coming around for another move. He's got easy chances to try and snipe those jabs again. Very limited infantry if he comes at the right angle. Mr. Druid again drawing them out more and more. So this is a little bit of a different tactic. We had to push back, rush, push, back up, push. If you notice, the Russians, they're pushing when they need to push, and then when they're retreating when they need to retreat. This is a tactic often lots of new players, they don't understand that you don't need to fight a losing fight. You can retreat, regroup, and then use your numbers to your advantage. Now that all these units are isolated, the Russians, if you'll notice, the elephants are coming, everything's coming towards this isolated force. Russians have, like I said, they retreated. Now they're pushing forward on an isolated force. They're going to take advantage, divide and conquer, and then this, as we keep going, this battle is just more and more heading into the Russians' favor. I don't think the French are going to be able to come out on top of this. Here we go with the elephants taking on all of their infantry very easily. I imagine we missed that he had baited their vengeance. Well done on the Ellie's. He just gets to easily mop up all these infantry. It's pretty much game for the Russians. Game 2, 2-0 for the Russians. So we're going to paint a little picture here. When Mr. Druid, he made an excellent choice of the slingers. Being on top of the hill, you had free reign to shoot anywhere on the base. Lord Commandant making the mistake of not having enough defense to keep pressure off of him and going back inside the base and trying to duel with Mr. Druid. You don't want to be caught in the middle when there's ranged firepower that have the high ground like that. And those javelins, again, like we talked about last match, you need to meet pressure with pressure. If you are going to have a team that's going to apply a lot of pressure, the French team was making excellent moves down the choke here, seeing a weak point and applying pressure right back at the Russians. And if they would have continued that pressure, they could have kept the favor in their favor and even maybe capped the Russian team. And again, the Russian team with a very nice clean victory. Congratulations, make your move.